And welcome back to A Chapter a Day.
Keeps the devil away.
I'm Pastor Pleck along with Nick Drummond, and we're talking Matthew chapter 15. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to give you a brief outline. We're going to talk about some observations that we found, make some interpretations about what this teaches about the nature of God and the character and really the nature of people. And then we're going to find some applications that we can implement into our lives. So first off, we've got Matthew 15, 1 through 9, you've got the Pharisees challenging Jesus about his disciples not washing hands according to tradition. All right, and Jesus is going to rip them apart for that question. Then in 15, 10 through 20, Jesus redefines purity, teaching it's not what goes into the mouth that makes someone undefiled, but what comes out of the heart that defiles someone. And then we're going to have in Matthew 15, 21 to 28, a Gentile woman demonstrating huge faith, and Jesus heals her daughter. And then we've got Jesus healing a bunch of people on a mountain. Crowds bring the sick. Jesus heals them, leading to worship. And then finally, Matthew 15, 32 to 39 is the feeding of the 4,000. Jesus miraculously feeds thousands, showing his compassion and how he has the ability to wipe away every need that anyone might have. Now, Nick, when you look at this, on first glance, give me some observations that quickly stick out to you.
The very first thing that completely sticks out to me is when he goes into "Thou shalt honor thy mother and thy father."
Okay, why?
Because my father was a felon, is a felon, right? Yep. He's not doing anything like that anymore. And we've since been able to talk and stuff like that. But I have a hard time with that term honor.
Right.
Because I'm like, so you want me to honor somebody that really wasn't there for me? The forgiveness thing, I say it's there, but I keep him and my mother at a distance. So hers was a betrayal during a certain time in my life.
So I think the hard part becomes how good of a parent does your parent have to be to honor them?
Yeah, we're just trying to get the bare minimum out of these two people.
Well, what's the bare minimum?
I mean, just some loyalty, maybe. Huh?
I think that's the problem, right? Is that these people were instead of providing for their parents, they're maybe they felt just like you. You know what? I am not a fan of my parents. And so therefore, I'm not going to provide for them. I'm going to say, hey, listen, I give you money, but I've already devoted it to God. There's nothing I can do. I have to give it to the Lord. Unless you need it to survive. And then you could just live off that money yourself because that was sort of allowed. Yeah. And he's like, you are finding a loophole in the system so that you don't have to provide for your parents.
Yeah.
Okay. So it goes back to having a spouse. Are you supposed to sacrifice for your wife only if she submits and obeys? Is a woman only supposed to submit to obey their husband if their husband acts like Jesus? At some point, somebody has to do something that's uncomfortable and love and live like Jesus, or else Jesus has come absolutely for nothing and nobody changes anything.
Ooh. No, I mean, thinking about that one.
So when you say I honor God, I love God, in 1 John 4, if you cannot love your brother who you can see, how can you say you love your God who you cannot see? So the ultimate test of your love for God is not in your ability to love those you don't know or love God who you can't see. It's to love those who've supposed to love you the most, but have ended up hurting you the most. That's where Christ's love says, love your enemies. Bless those who persecute you.
Okay, so that he says that, right? And then he says that if you offer your enemy water, right?
Yep.
Like you're supposed to, he will heap hot coals upon their head. So I could go some places with this one because I'm like, haha, I don't got to do anything anymore. I'm going to be nice to them, but with the heart of, I'm waiting for the hot coals to get you.
So, okay, hold on. So the hot coals, do you think the hot coals are burning the person?
I mean, I was hoping.
No, they're not burning. Hot coals is when you recognize how unworthy you are and you feel really bad. And so you mark your head with a hot coal, which would leave a mark. And so it's a way of showing how wrong you were.
So when are they going to do that?
The more righteous you are to them.
Oh.
And then eventually you love them so much that you're like, I'm not worried about you feeling bad. I want to restore a relationship.
Man, just for a second there.
You're like, sweet, bring the coals.
Bring the coals. I got a list.
All right. So let's get on to another one that I don't know if you struggle with this, but purity isn't about what goes into your mouth, but what comes out of your mouth.
Oh, come on now. Like, yes. I mean, for the longest time ever. I have a hard time. I would say it's a struggle sometimes to bring about like God's word over, like trying to turn someone. I'll rather try to turn them away or turn them off, or I would say even throw judgment upon them over the giving them grace, or bringing them closer. So a lot of times I'll have a conversation with somebody and I'll be sitting there and be like, oh man, I probably could have brought them closer to Jesus, but I probably just, sent them away. And the carcass that is me, the worldly version of me is like, that was so awesome. Like they hate their life now. But like the spiritual side of me is like cringing inside because I'm like, you did it again. Good job.
And so how about this? Whenever the Pharisees were talking, Jesus called them blind guides. And the reason was they were more interested in ceremony and pomp circumstances than heart change. And let's talk about what that is. Do you remember back in the olden days of 2020 when there was something called virtue signaling? And that's what Pharisees were doing. Everywhere they're virtue signaling to everybody. Look how clean I am. Look how I'm wearing my mask. Look how I'm doing all the right things. Look, I am doing the right thing. So virtue signaling hasn't been just around during the 2020s. It's been around since the 20s.
Yeah. I don't think I have a problem with virtue signaling per se.
Yeah.
But I also view myself as a right-wing Republican who sees what virtual signaling is doing to this country.
You don't think there's any virtue signaling in Republican side?
I wouldn't say that. Now, am I biased between the parties? Yes.
Like someone says like something about guns and Second Amendment rights, and you virtue signal go like, yeah, even if you don't believe it. I'm sure there are probably some conservative Christians, because they don't want to rock the boat, make sure that they tout Second Amendment joy.
I don't understand the problem. The Second Amendment is the Second Amendment. Like, look at what our founding fathers said.
I understand.
They were like, the First Amendment, we want you to have the freedom of speech. We can, you can get together in a group and you can have religious freedoms, which I think you should be a plus on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pastor Fleck. And then right after that, they were like, okay, so basically we can talk crap about the people that lead us, right? We can get together if we don't agree with them and rah. All right. And then we can, worship how we see fit. And then right after that, they're like, oh, by the way, we need to have guns.
Right.
To protect all these.
Yeah.
These things. I mean, the First Amendment, that could have been broken into three, honestly.
But I guess my point is virtue signaling happens on the left and the right side because people want everyone to think they're in line with the party.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I said I could be biased.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. All right. Now, what about the faith of the Canaanite woman? Are you familiar with this one? She's the one that comes to Jesus asking to heal her daughter. And Jesus is like, I didn't come for you. I came for the children of Israel.
Yeah, but isn't it great that even though he came for the children of Israel, he still heals the Canaanite woman's daughter?
Yeah, and he also calls her a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. But I mean...
But she rolls with it.
She does.
Which I think that's what impressed Jesus. He was like, oh, you get it. And she understands the gospel, that nobody brings anything to the table, and come boldly to the Son of God and ask.
But how about this, right? So Jesus is here healing people even though they're not the Israelites, right? And then on the other side, 600 years later, you got Muhammad saying, we will only take care of other Muslims.
There you go.
Which is the complete stark difference between the Bible and the Quran.
Nice. Okay. What about Jesus healing many on the mountain? They brought the lame, the blind, the mute, and Jesus heals all of them. What's your takeaway from that?
Shoot, if I could see that miracle today, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's prolific, it's beautiful, it's fulfilling the prophecies, and I mean, it points definitely to him being the Son of God.
Right. In fact, there's numerous texts in Isaiah, for example, where the lame walk, the blind see, all of that are like direct calls for the Messiah. And so it would be this really special thing where Jesus is the one who fulfills and brings about the kingdom of God on earth. Pretty wild. Okay. What about, what else do we have? How about, what was that? The sermon on, the feeding of the 4,000.
Feeding of the 4,000.
Plus women and children.
Plus women and children. And we times that by 3. So we're looking at 12,000 people at this
Potentially,
point.
yeah.
Potentially 12,000 people. I mean, we have another miracle.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And this isn't the first time, because if you go back one chapter to 14, he fed 5,000 times basically 3. So we're talking about 15,000 people that time. And, right before he walked on water. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, I mean, it looks as if Jesus is like coming into his own if he was like a celebrity, you know, or like, he was a quarterback in a football team.
Right. He's killing it.
Like he is killing it right now. All
right, so let's talk through what are some theological implications of all of these. What do we learn about the nature of human beings?
This is crazy because I always want to point out we are flawed.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times we walk through life and we're really like, I prefer the word numb to the world. Maybe not numb inside yourself, but you're numb to the world because you are so focused on your needs, your pain, your, what you need, that you stop, looking at what others might need.
Yeah. And I think it's crazy that the most basic human relationship, your parents,
right,
is the one that is messed up. The one that like you should have the most devotion, loyalty, and love for, parents for children and children for parents. That would be it would go without saying that you would take care of your parents. And yet, by playing the God card, they found a loophole to get out of just that very thing. Wild, right? That we could do that.
Yeah, it's just nuts.
Because it's the command. It's taking scripture and going, it's not really as important as what I want to do.
If that ain't a day-to-day struggle.
All right, yeah. So that's it, right? Okay. What about? Well, give me another thing that this teaches about people or God, nature of people, character of God.
God is an all-loving God. Okay. I think we forget we forget about that, or we forget His grace. We don't really want to just stow it on others, right? And it as we go through life, and again focus on our needs, right? And we find those loopholes that we want to pursue, and we justify them. Like it's easy to justify them, As I would say my mother betrayed me in a certain time in my life, and so justifiably, I'm like, yeah, we'll have a relationship, but it'll be estranged,
right? As
much as I possibly can make it, because you were unloyal, and I do not trust you, and I have all these,
So is that a forgiveness issue?
I mean, but you can forgive and have boundaries,
right? Yeah. So I always say forgiveness is given, trust is earned. And so at some point, though, you don't love your mom because she's not going to hurt you. You love your mom because she's your mom and you're commanded to and take care of her. And it's not that you have to expose yourself vulnerably to a place where you can get completely betrayed, but at the same time, you are called to care for and honor her as much as humanly possible. And I think that's hard. I think that's genuinely.
I agree. It's hard.
All right. How about this? People are defiled by their inner corruption, not external things, which I think is when the wickedness of that Jesus points out: sexual immorality, slander, greed, pride. All of that comes from the heart, as opposed to doing something outward that might make you look that you're not properly virtue signaling.
Well, okay. We go into we have to I think we have to go into the facts that Jesus is 100% the only perfect person that ever walked the world. Okay. What I mean by that is, even if you're in step with God, even if you're in, you're doing your walk, you're faithful, everything else, our heart, at the end of the day, like, you can't stop your brain from thinking something. Right. Like, it can just be, I'm above this person, which we know from the teachings that if you put yourself above someone, you're last. Right. But how hard is it to look at a homeless person on the street that wants my pennies and be like, I found somebody I'm above right now, right? Like, if you're struggling, especially if you're struggling. And then, we look into racism that we have, or, your own prejudices towards others, that might be, you might have acquired, through life, like combat, for crying out loud, I don't think you can trade bullets with a certain race for, your most of your adult life and walk away from that and just be like, oh yeah, like I totally gonna love that person like Jesus would. Like, there's some resentment there, but it just goes through like the heart of you. Like, you can outwardly appear a certain way, right? But if you don't actually take into account the greed, right, all that stuff, then you're kind of lying. 100%. Like,
hypocrisy. So how about this? It's the sin to confess, if there's an application, is hypocrisy. When we honor God with our lips while our hearts are far from him in the way that we treat people. Like, I love you, Jesus, but I don't care about my parents. I love you, Jesus, but anybody that looks like anybody I fought in war, they're done. Yeah. Like, that's the thing that we can't have as a part of our, spiritual DNA. Or how about the sin of evil thoughts, slander, pride, sexual morality? Those all come from your heart. Whenever we say, just follow your heart, well, that's where the wickedness is.
I know. I love it. Because there is that thing, especially in social media, if you're on it like too much, you'll see, follow your heart. Well, then on the flip side, because my social media flips back and forth between the world and godly stuff, because I'll be like, oh, look, it's something about Jesus. And then it'll be like, the world's just follow your heart, but what does Jesus say? And, it's very stark contrast.
It is a very stark contrast. All right, let's talk about an example to follow. I like the Canaanite woman's bold, humble, and persistent faith. She went to Jesus despite discouragement. Like, even when Jesus is like, I didn't come here for you, she's like, but you still could do something for me. And I think that possibility thinking with Jesus is huge. I think sometimes we've already assumed a no from Jesus, so we don't ask. And so, there's a couple times in life, you ever heard the statement, like, the worst you can, or the worst you can do is ask, or worst they can say is say no. No, that's not the worst. You could offend somebody, they'll never talk to you again, and then they'll take something from you if you ask, right? But with Jesus, with him, truly, the worst he can say is no. And ultimately, whatever you ask him, whatever his answer is ultimately for your good according to his purpose. And I think we struggle with understanding that we can come to him with anything, and whatever his answer is, it's always our good that he has in mind. Okay. Well, give me another one. What's something that you could apply? If you have a sin to confess, a promise to claim, example to follow, a command to obey, or knowledge to believe, what would be something that you would lean into here?
You know, I wish I could feed 12,000 people with just a little bit of food. However, I didn't get that blessing. I think it does go back to the Canaanite woman, and just because it kind of is even in lockstep with your parents in a way. Yeah. Just as everyone around you, if we're trying to glorify God and we're trying to walk with the Lord, with Jesus, and be more Jesus like. Yeah. Then even though this person that maybe we believe is less than us or even more than us, like it could be someone that they need some kind of help, and you could be like, oh, come on, like you need me to do it, like you have the way we see things, they may have more than us, and we're like, you're kidding. But just to be able to, if you're walking in that step with the Lord, with God, and being able to help out everyone, the bottom to the top, and not view yourself as anybody in, like you just are. You're not first. You're just a member of members. Yeah. And I think that really, that portion of it really reigns in the scripture itself of, here this woman is, who he even says, I'm not here for you. We're not here for, if you really get to the root of it, we're not really here for anybody. Right. And yet we want to come at this with a Christian heart. So everyone is the Canaanite woman to us. Nice. Hey, I think that's good. That's a great way to kind of wrap it up and nail it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow on A Chapter a Day.